looking for a friend. No, girl, you looking for a man. Say that. I am looking for a man. Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, Lovey with Nee. I'm Nee, and in today's video we are talking about episode 2 and 3 of The Later Daters. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the red subscribe button. Also ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And if you haven't seen my episode 1 review, I will definitely have it linked in the description box below. And with that being said, y'all, let's get right into it. Alright y'all, so we open up with episode 2. Anees and George are still on their date, and George is here for a good time, not a long time, because he told Miss Anees, why are you leaving? The night is still young. And I was like, come on, George. And again, I ask, who is his coach? Is he being coached? Because if not, he needs coaching, like for sure. I'm really glad that Anees left and got on with that because, woo, child. Alright, so then we are still with Suzanne. She is getting dressed for another date, and listen, when she put on those wedges and she had on her pink little, what do they call it? Like flapper, what is that called? Fringe. When she put on her fringe dress, y'all, you can't tell me Lil Mama wasn't stepping. Like, you could not tell me Suzanne was not stepping. She was serving, and that dress was really cute. Her shoes is cute. I like the way she dresses. It's very bright. I don't really care for her hair. But the way that she dresses is pretty cute. So then we get a scene with Nate and Jackie, and he's talking about his date with Latricia. And here he's talking about how she was going up for the GOD and how he was like, like, not too much, not too much. And so, like I said before, it's just really weird that he would actually introduce the religion and then kind of pull back when she was like, oh yeah, like I'm religious, I'm this, and for him to say like, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. I don't know. Nonetheless, that's where they are, and I don't foresee that he'll go on another date with Latricia. But the way that Jackie was like grilling into him, trying to figure out what the date was like, what he had going on, was she pretty, was she not? It just, I don't know. Their dynamic is so odd to me. As a woman, if I were dating Nate, that dynamic between them two would really kind of turn me off. Like, I would not be comfortable with that. So then we get to Suzanne, and she's on a date with Mr. Avery, and I did not catch how old Avery is, but Avery is tall, he has a stocky build, and he is younger than her. I don't remember exactly how young, but I know he's younger than her. And when they get on this date, Suzanne is like, where are my flowers at, Avery? Why you didn't bring me my flowers? And I was like, I know that's right, where her flowers? Where her flowers, Avery? They are having lots of laughs, lots of fun. They are going back and forth, and I kind of cackled at I cackled at the fact of, or his joke about the knee replacement. And once again, I work in rehab. I'm an occupational therapist assistant, so I see those knee replacement scars all the time. And when he said that, I just had to bust a gut because I was like, literally, 58 and up. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna have that knee replacement scar. I think Suzanne is loving the fact that this younger man is giving her the googly eyes. She's definitely vibing a lot more with him than I think she was with Frank. And so they're just having a good time. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. We're introduced to Pam, who is 70, and she lives almost on a secluded island by herself. She's out in the country in the sticks. It's just her dogs, her parrot, her parrot, and her granddaughter. And when I saw those old pictures of Pam, I was like, okay, Pam, you look good. She looks good now too. Like 70, she looks really good for 70. I never would have thought she was 70 years old. But as she's talking and giving us her life story and telling us about all the things that she experienced through life. She's been married twice. Both of her husbands are now deceased. Pam just gives me like free spirit hippie vibes. She just gives me like, I'm down for whatever. She seems like she's still a lot of fun. She's really spunky. and her granddaughter, she adopted her granddaughter or got custody of her granddaughter, and her granddaughter is getting ready to get married. And so her granddaughter is just like, look, I just want Nana to have somebody so that I can go off and not feel guilty. I think that's really just kind of what it is. I don't want Nana to be here by herself when I go on and, start my new life. Pam was like the same way. Like, look, I don't want her to stop doing what she's doing because she's sitting here worried about me. So, like, they have that kinship, they have that connection, they have that relationship, and it's really sweet to see. So we go back to Suzanne and Avery, and of course we have to bring up the Georgia Bulldogs. And Avery, unfortunately for her, but fortunate for me, is an Alabama fan. And if you know anything about college sports, you know Georgia and Alabama don't mix and mingle. Like, she was repulsed by the fact that he was a Bama fan. But let me say this: being with somebody whose favorite team is a rival team from your own, if you're into sports, to me that's fun. So I like Alabama, and my husband likes LSU. And one of the funnest days that we have is when we play each other, because we're always like going back and forth. We're just going at it. We like to clown, we like to nitpick, and it's just like a good and all fun. Now, if you get some of those obnoxious fans or something like that, then it's different. But if you get a fan like me and my husband who are kind of lighthearted in the sports teams that we support and that we like, then rival games are always fun and we have a good time. So that dynamic could be fun. Like, y'all don't have to like the same team. You don't have to be cheering for the same team. Like, you want to be able to clown and kind of just have a good time, and especially if it's lighthearted. But he doesn't come across as like an obnoxious Alabama fan. There are some out there. Not me, not Avery, but there are some out there. But if I hear Matthew McConaughey one more time, McConaughey, I don't know how to say his name. If I hear Matthew McConaughey one more time, like, come on, Suzanne. That and Georgia Bulldogs is about to run me up the wall. So then we get a niece who is talking to Dwayna, her daughter, about the date that she had with George. And she starts off by telling her, like, hey, he was really put together. He had the dark skin. He had the salt and pepper hair. I thought we were going to have a good time. And she's like, okay. And then she proceeds to tell her, but then the bottom fell out. And this man asked me if I had any work done, if all my kids had the same daddy. He then told me that I had ghetto in me because I had a blonde wig. And her daughter was like, what? She was like, sir, bye. Because we find out that George was like, I want a second date. And how dare you, George? Like, there's no way you thought that date went well enough that you would have a second. She left. Do we not know how? I was about to say, do we not know how to read a room? But clearly we do not, because he. Bye, George. So then we see Suzanne, and she calls Logan again. Is she the only person that calls Logan after dates? Like, is she the only person that does that? Because I haven't seen anybody else call Logan after her dates. So we're back with Pam, and let me say this. The reason why I'm hopping around like this is because this is how they film the show. And if I have one complaint, I do not like how they hop around. I do not like it. It's like they stop in the middle of a date to give us Nate getting dressed. Then we go back to the date. Then we see Suzanne putting on her shoes. Then we go back to the date and we see Pam feeding the birds. Like, it's just too much back and forth. I just want to see the date all the way through and then cut to the extra, see another date all the way through, then cut to something else. It's too much. It's too much. It's just too much. So we find out that Pam was a flight attendant, and she actually just recently retired. And from what I get from Pam and the way she talks, it just seems like she's still grieving. Like, both of her husbands have passed. It seems like her first husband was like the love of her life, and she's still grieving. Not only is she grieving, and then she's also kind of secluded herself from the rest of the world. And so I think Pam just really needs to kind of be introduced back into society. That's just kind of the vibe I get. I think that she's a lot of fun. She does have dark humor, which I think is a coping mechanism, but she does joke around a lot. And like I said, she seems like a lot of fun. She's really sweet. So, I'm really rooting for Pam. I'm really rooting for Pam. My next note says Nate scene getting ready. See, this is what I mean. Like, they just throw in a random scene, like, in the middle. The editors got to do better. So Nate and Anees are on this date, and it was really kind of different and pretty exciting to see them couple up two of the later daters on the show. But I will say one thing, as they're sitting and talking, they seem to be vibing a little bit, really kind of like, filling each other out. But as soon as Anees tells Nate her age, I think that is the moment where Nate like clocked out. He was like done. He was like, no, this is not for me. And I didn't see them being a fit anyways, because Anees has been very vocal about how she wants somebody that's active, and Nate has been very vocal about how he is not active. So there was no way that they were going to work out in the long run. I don't know if anybody clocked this tea, but Anees threw shade at Nate, and she said, you look like you work out. Well, your upper body, I don't know. Go back and watch it, because when I heard it, I was like, oh, I got a little giggle off that. I just think that he wants a young, like 40-something, 45, maybe 45-ish woman who is kind of a homebody, who wants to be at home, who's okay with going out every now and again, who looks good, who can dress up really good, but ultimately he's looking for somebody to take care of him. He's looking for companionship and a nurse. And Anees is not that. Anees is like, I'm outside. I'm booking a flight right now. And Nate, baby, you being at home with that back, I can't do it. I will say too, Nate lets it be known who he likes and who he doesn't like. He did not ask Anees for a selfie. And so that just made me go like that, like, okay. And Nate also tells Anees, like, your man, like, look, if you had a man that's not me, they won't let you go out by yourself. They're going to go with you. It's not going to be me that's going out with you. It's going to be one of them, because I'm not your person, but I'm here to tell you, like, if you're the kind of person that wants to go out and you come across a homebody, he's not going to let you go out the door by yourself, but it's not me. It's not me. One of them. Pam goes on a date, and it's with a gentleman named Robert, and he has been divorced 2 times, and he's 65. And Pam is just all over the place. She is jittering, she is talking, she is it's just word. I have here word vomit. Like, Pam has not talked to anybody else other than her parrot, her dog, and her granddaughter in so long that I don't think she realizes like how debilitating, kind of secluding herself has been, and then now she's out in the free world, and we don't know how to act. So I can understand her being jittery and the anxiousness and all that's going on with this date. So she is just talking. The topics she's talking about are very interesting, but she's just on a roll. The episode ends with Pam and Rob, and they're still on their date. And at the end of this date, Rob is starting to get kind of rude. I understand that he's kind of getting a little frustrated with Pam, but, he is coming off as like a jerk. And I can definitely see why he would be a divorcee, because, you don't talk to people like that, especially sweet Pam. Especially sweet Pam. So we're going to go ahead and roll into episode number 3. And the episode opens up with Pam and Robert still at their date. And like I said, Robert is a butthole. He's just a butthole. And I think Pam is also not interested in Robert, because Robert's kind of dry. Like, what he's talking about is not very entertaining. He's a sound something. And he's trying... Let me not say he's not interesting. We don't know if he's interesting, but the way that he's talking, to me, I'd be bored with him too. So she's just not, she's just not interested. And what really kind of turned me off from Rob is when he was like, he whistled at her. And I was like, I know he didn't just whistle at her, but Pam has some growing pains she has to kind of work through and just kind of like relearn a lot of things. So, it was her first date. It was a disaster, but he blew skidooed and got out of there as quick as he could. So then we get to Anise, and she's talking about how when she went on the date, Nate brought her yellow flowers, and yellow means friendship. I can guarantee you Nate didn't think twice about the color of the flower. He probably picked up the first flower he saw and just went on. So I don't want her to think too deep into that. He's at home. He's at home, and of course Jackie stops by. She was just in the neighborhood, and like, I just want to say, like, girl, you don't call before you come over. You just pop up. That's another problem. That's another area that I would have a problem with if I were trying to pursue Nate. Like, no, she just pop up. No, sir. No, sir. Anyways, Nate said, don't leave your trash. Give me that. And that's just like a more introspective look as to how clean and how particular he really is. Like, she couldn't even stand up out of the chair and grab the cup to go throw it away. Like, he's like, no, that needs to be thrown away before you leave, because I guess in his brain he knows that if I don't do it right now, waiting on her, it won't get done. But, whatever. It's this, that, and the other. So we get back to Anise, and she's talking with her daughter, and her daughter's telling her, like, if you had a good time with Nate, then you need to reach out to him. You need to reach out to him. And her mom's like, no. And one thing that I can say about Anise is that she reads the room very well. And I think because her daughter was not present and she doesn't understand or wasn't able to see like the dynamic between her and Nate, she doesn't understand, like, we're just not into each other in that way. Now, if he wanted to pursue me, I'd be open to it, but it's not something that I'm going to force. And so I have to agree with her. I have to disagree with her daughter on having her reach out to him, because ultimately Nate just really wasn't interested in her. But if there was somebody that she was interested in, they were mutually interested in each other, then I agree. Like, hey, reach out. Like, hey, I enjoyed our time. I would like to see you again. There's a show that's coming up. Would you be interested? Like, that kind of thing. Something very casual, laid back, where you're kind of pushing it out, but not too much. So Suzanne is talking to us about how she doesn't want to be a nurse or a nurse, and I was like, I know that's right, Suzanne. Suzanne said, I've been there, done that. I done raised these kids. Now I'm just trying to have a good time. I'm trying to live the rest of my days on a high, and I'm not trying to fund you, and I'm not trying to take care of you. So you need to come with your own money and your own nurse, because neither one of them will ever be me. All right, so Pam goes on a date with Paul, who is 62, and he's cute. He has a little weight on him, but for the most part, he's a cute guy, a cute man. I like his voice. His voice was very chill. He was very mellow, and I just want to know, is Pam on medicine? Because she was completely different on this date than she was on her first date. Like, she was really more mellow, a little less kind of fidgety, or maybe it was just the nerves. I don't know. I don't know. So anyways, I think that Paul fits her vibe more because he is so chill. I think, you know what, maybe that's what kind of calmed her down. The fact that Paul is calm kind of calms her, because even when she was talking about being different and he was like, why would you want to be the same as everybody else? It was just really sweet kind of how he, catered to her. He was a lot more patient, and I think that kind of felt or made her feel a little bit more relaxed. Then we're introduced to Auntie Lori. She's 57 and she's been single for 15 years. I want to say she's been married twice, I think, and she's talking about how, she's made her career such an important part of her life. She really hadn't prioritized dating or getting to know somebody, but now with her being 57, her children are older. I think her youngest son is in college. She's making that a priority at this stage in life. And then she starts talking about how when she gets off of work, she just comes home and she sits in her car for like an hour. And she's making it seem like a negative thing. And I want to say why I think she's saying it as a negative thing, but I'm going to say this. That's my favorite time of the day. I love to sit in my car after I get off work and decompress. That is essential for me, especially if my husband works from home. I know, and he hasn't had any like human interaction that day. I already know he's on 10. So I have to take, I love him, but he turned up. So I have to take that time to just kind of woo-saw and like before I enter the home. So girl, don't say Auntie Lori, enjoy that time because I know I do. And I want to say too, like I hope she ain't doing carbon monoxide, dioxide, whichever the poison when you sit in the garage with your car running and the garage closed. Auntie Lori has a very big personality. She's very outgoing. She's just kind of like va va boom. And I will say this about somebody who has a big personality is a lot of times people around you kind of like, I don't want to say turn themselves down, but a lot of people kind of become recluse because your personality is so big and it's overpowering. And I can say that from experience because when I was younger, just about all of my friends back in my 20s, back in high school, I was an introvert and they were loud. And so I didn't have to speak up because I had people around me that were speaking up and that were very loud and that their personalities kind of outshined mine. And so that's just the kind of vibe that I get. It just reminds me a lot of some of the friendships that I had when I was younger. Their personality was so big that it didn't allow for me to show up as my highest self, if that makes sense. So I don't know. That's just an observation. So Pam is on this date with Paul, and she just says, "Hey, when am I going to see you again? When are we going to come and do this again? I had a really good time. Let's go for date number 2." And I think this is what Anissa's daughter was wanting Anissa to do. Just kind of be casual about it. Just really not make a big deal. Like, hey, I really enjoyed your company. Do you enjoy my company? Well, then let's find a way for our companies to kind of merge together so we can do this again. So I think that's just kind of what Anissa's daughter was saying. Anyways, like I said, he's really good with her. I really did like them together, but Lord. So Pam is just so awkward. And I'm laughing because Pam is me. Because I'm like, is that what I'm going to be like when I get older? Just this big ball of awkwardness. Because at the conclusion of the date, when they're walking outside, Pam just goes and kisses this man in the mouth. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I think she was so surprised that she did it that she was just too stunned to speak. Because she just said, okay, good night. and I like the fact that he just kind of went with it. It reminds me a lot of like my husband when we first started, like the very first phone conversation we ever have. And this story's kind of embarrassing, but anyways, the very first time we were on the phone, this is when I was in like my Vampire Diaries, Supernatural, the originals era. I remember I was on the phone with him and I was like, you know what? I really want to be a vampire. And I could hear him moving. And then all of a sudden when I said that, he kind of just stopped. And he goes, and I know he probably, just knowing him now, not knowing him then, but knowing him now, I know like the look of confusion. And the only thing he said was, okay. So shout out to those kings that just kind of go with the flow. So then Avery gives Suzanne a phone call and he's like, hey baby, I like you, you like me. Do you want to go on a second date? And I thought that was real, very gentlemanlike and just really nice for him to call instead of text her and ask her for a second date. But my girl said, no, I can't go with you Saturday because it's Georgia football and nothing but the Lord is going to get in the way of that. So he was like, you know what? Look, I know you love Georgia football, so let's come up with a compromise. And the fact that he was willing to compromise already just lets me know that, he's somebody that's really interested in her and really wants to get to know her. I wonder how excited she is about Georgia making it into the playoffs this year and Alabama not making the cut. Anyways. I'm hating a little bit, yeah. I ain't ashamed to say it. Roll Tide. Alright, so then we are back with Auntie Lori, and her and Logan are going through her house. She talks about how she feels like she's in the friend zone. And all I have to say that is because you're looking for a friend. You literally said it. You said, hey, I'm looking for a friend. No, girl, you looking for a man. Say that. I am looking for a man. You're not looking for a friend. You want your man to be a friend, but you're not looking for a friend. You're looking for a man. All right, Auntie Lori? So they're sitting at the table, and her daughter is telling her that she's always showing up, and she's just like, that's just my personality. That's what Auntie Lori says whenever her daughter says that. That's just my personality. And that's just something. And I've talked about this before, how I used to watch Divorce Court with Lynn Toller, and it just reminds me of, like, that's just my personality. It's just saying, like, I'm not willing to change. And that to me just says, like, there's something internal going on. And I wonder if she's in therapy. Like, I wonder if she's working on, like, herself, especially going through a divorce and, you know, having to sift through that, having that feeling of like, I need to be strong, I need to be dominant, I need to be in control. I really wonder if she's going to therapy to help her, like, to help work through that. I think therapy would be good for her to kind of, you know, just experience and get different tools in her tool belt to help her better navigate the fact that she feels like that's just me, because there's a lot of parts of us that we feel like, oh, that's just me, that's just how I am. But it's not. And those, especially when people are telling you like, hey, this is clearly affecting your life, this is clearly having taken a toll on you, and not saying that we want to change you completely, but we want you to have ways to better manage it. And so I think if she's not in therapy, I think therapy will definitely help her, and she should probably look into that. So Auntie Lori, if you're watching this, you know, get you a good therapist, girl, and work on that, because it's not just your personality. I think your personality is great, it's fabulous, but it could be off-putting to men. And so, you know, working on those broken parts of us and healing those broken parts of us does a world of good. And I'm only speaking on that from experience, because I have gone through therapy, actively going through therapy, and when the healed part of me and when the broken part of me has been healed, you know, life is so much grander on this side. And that's what I want for Auntie Lori. I think she's fabulous and she deserves to have a grand life. But, you know, you can't say, oh, that's just my personality. That to me just says I'm not willing to change. This is who I am, and I'm not willing to change. And she doubled down on that when she pretty much told Logan that she's not changing her glasses. So we're stubborn, we're kind of stuck in our ways, and I don't know how we invite other people, other adult people, other grown people into our space when that is our thought process and the way that we're thinking. So, you know, I want Auntie Lori to make it. I don't think that she's going to find somebody on this show. I think there needs to be a lot of self-work that needs to be done before she's ready for that part of life. All right, y'all, so that's it on this episode. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys think about the couple so far. Do y'all like Paul and Pam together? Do y'all think Aneesa and Nate could have made it work? Just let me know what you guys are thinking. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel, y'all, and don't forget to tell somebody else to come on over and enjoy Lovey with Nee. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Yeah.